Hey guys, how we doing? I just want to um make sure that you guys can hear me and we're good to go. Put some lipstick on. This don't even have a color. Yeah, this don't even have a color. I'm like, that's not helping. Anyways, how we doing? Happy Monday. Come on in here. Come on in here. Okay, my lips was kind of dry. All right, but we're good now. We're good now. Why is this seem so? My mic is so far back. All right. Let me go ahead and zoom into the group just to make sure that the group can see me and they can hear me. Let me zoom into my give me a one in the chat if you're in the group so I can see and hear you. Making sure that we're good there. Let me test. Okay, good, good. I can hear. I like to test it because you don't want to have a whole conversation and you by yourself. Okay. Oh my goodness. I've done that before. It won't be the first time or the last at all. Trust me, just part of the process. Just part of the process. Anyways, welcome to Monday Night Live. It's your girl, Sherri Summer Bell. I am super excited for you to join me on my Monday Night Live. If you're new to my space, I help women, ambitious women who are in the financial space to build a credibility, community, and cash flow to 250K without sacrificing their family time. And of course, we're talking about how to embrace ambition without the sacrifice. We're going to go deep into that. I have a special guest. So give me a one in the chat so I can get started right now. Give me a one in the chat just to make sure that you can hear me and everything is good. I'm checking my Facebook group just to make sure everything is good on that end. Because, Zoom has been acting up. I don't know if y'all know because I love to give y'all the gem here. So Zoom has been acting up like the same group that I Zoom into for almost 2 years or three. It was not allowing me to zoom into that group anymore, and I just couldn't figure it out. Like why? Like why it's not allowing me to zoom in there? So we have our ups and downs. If you're tuning in on YouTube, you're welcome to go join Sherri.com to be part of the conversation. All right. So hey, Jam Rock, it's been a minute since I've seen you tuning in. Hello, beautiful queen. Listen, I am excited. This is a great time to be in finance. This is a great time for you to be in the financial space, regardless of what space you're in, whether it's insurance or financial coach or financial advisor or bookkeeper or tax accountant. It is a great time to be in finance. So let me tell you, if you're in this industry, this is a great time. This is a great season to be inside of finance. And you're in the right industry. This industry produce more millionaires than any other industry. So I just want to let you know that this is a great time to be in there. So now that you know it's a great time, it's time to come over here, get the gem, get the nuggets that you need to grow your business. Again, give me a one in the chat. Thank you. Thank you, Jim Rock. I got it. I got it. Thank you. I got my hey gorgeous. I got it. All right. So would you agree that if you have what it takes to be an expert, you definitely know you have what it takes to be an expert, but you struggle with execution? Thank you for the one. Thank you for the one. You struggle with execution. Like you have what it takes to be an expert, but the challenge you have is execution. And let me tell you something. I know one person who has no issues with execution because Miss Dolores, baby, she is showing up where her make money makes sense, and I'm just so proud of her. So let me give me a yes in the chat if this is you. Would you agree that you have what it takes to be an expert, but yet you struggle with execution? Put a yes in the chat if that sounds right to you, whether you're on StreamYard, whether you're on YouTube, because I know that was me. Like, I understand it all too well because I remember working 14-hour shift when I had my full-time business, and I was working 14-hour shift as a coach, trying to grow my financial coaching business. And I was tired and exhausted when I got home. So I was so tired and exhausted. So I know I needed to get this business up and running. That was actually my motivation for wanting to get up and running, because as soon as I get home, my son was young. Oh my goodness, like under 5. And I had to make sure dinner was on the table. I had to make sure he took a shower. I had to make sure he had like little mini homework, or we like to do reading with him. So there was so much to get done. Then I would get all the stuff done with my son. I was a cop at the time, so I had to get my uniform ready for the next day, and I had to get my lunch prepared for the next day. And then I would come to my office, and when I would come to my office, I'll work on creating content and scheduling content so it can be out there while I'm at work. Because being in law enforcement, how many that's not the place to be creating content at the time. So I had to make sure my content was scheduled. So yes, it was a lot. My family had to, there's a lot of sacrifice and moving part that had to go on. And I was like, this cannot be, like, I don't know how long I can do this. So I had to figure out, how do I work a full-time job and be in the financial space at the same time? How do I do that? How do I figure out the harmony to do that? And what changed for me, what really started working for me, is really having a disciplined mindset, to really have, because I said to myself, there are other people who have done it and they're doing it successful. We're going to show you a guest speaker who's getting ready to tell you about her and how she's doing it and how she's successful at what she does. But for me, I had to start figuring out, I had to go to a space in my mind of what that looks like. And I'm going to go deeper with that. But before I go any deeper, I want to bring in someone who knows this very well, who is top of her executive business. Amazing woman, one of my amazing clients, who just wrapped up her event. And I want to bring her in because she knows what I'm talking about when I talk about how to embrace ambition without the sacrifice. Is no other, drum roll, than Dr. Catherine Latoya Grant Austin. Baby, come on in here. How are you? How are you?
I am well,
Okay, I can
Queen.
hear you.
I
We're good.
am
We're good. We're
well.
good. Listen, I can tell them all about how amazing you are, but I think you that won't do me justice. I think you need to tell them all about who you are and who your clients that you serve. Who are you and what do you do? Sound familiar?
It does. It does. So, hello, everyone. I am Dr. Catherine Latoya Grant Austin. I am the Queen Treasurer. I serve businesses with their business finances so that they can scale and grow their businesses, reclaim their time, and replace it with money. And I do that using my Queendom framework. And so, we all, especially our queens, are busy, we're ambitious, and we just don't have time because time is money. And so a lot of times we just feel like we have to sacrifice some things, but you absolutely don't. And so I know we're going to talk about that more, but you can have it all. I'm also a corporate executive. So, yes, I do it all. Uh oh, I can't hear you.
I muted myself. So it
Okay.
was because I wanted them to get it all. I didn't want to interrupt you at all. I wanted to have you here on because when I was flying to Dubai, I think it was Jamaica. I took like a 3-week vacation, and you guys, the Unleash Her mastermind ladies, you guys kind of took over and started teaching class, right? Yeah, I hope y'all catching that on out there. I hope y'all catching that. And Catherine did a class. You remember what we talk about? You talk about in that class, and it really drive me to say, girl, all the stuff you're saying, I need you to say, come back here to the group and
Mhm.
say that as well. If you're working a full-time business, or if you consider yourself an ambitious woman that's also inside of working finance, go put a me in the chat. If you're working a full-time business, and you have, but you still also have a full-time business on the side, but you also have a finance business on, I'm sorry, a finance business on the side, but working a full-time business, put a me in the chat, so we can know who you are. If you consider yourself um an ambitious woman in finance, say hey, so we can also know who you are. And the reason why I wanted to have this conversation is because couple of my I was having with my own mastermind, we're like, Catherine, we were saying, when I look at Tamara and Dr. Ali, we were talking about they still run a successful business, and
Mhm.
they still have a full business, as do you. And you just wrapped up you just wrapped up. Yeah, I'm laughing because you finally did it. You finally did it, but you just wrapped up a brunch, an amazing
Mhm.
brunch with some highly ladies. Can you tell us more about that again? Because you're literally having events while you're running a full-time business. Tell us all about it and how did it go?
So the brunch was amazing. It was Claim Your Throne brunch, and it was for queens and businesses looking to elevate, looking to find community and partnership and be resources to each other. So there's this stigma that women can't work together, that women can't collaborate. And also, just especially as a woman, sometimes when we're in business, we carry that S on our chest. So it's just like, I can do all of the things. I can be all of the things. I don't want to raise my hand and actually ask for help, or, I don't know who to trust and whatnot. And so I wanted to break that stigma. I do believe that we are queens, and I do believe that we have our rightful seat. And I feel like we are very important to our kingdoms, very important to our community, but we can't be all of that and work in silo, right? And so you'll hear Sherri say all the time that greatness is not built in isolation. And that's true. And so the brunch was to bring together queens so that we can have that community, so that they can have that space, that safe space to network, to partner. But then also we did a live Q&A, because there's so many questions around business finance. And sometimes you don't want to ask the question because you have some embarrassment, you don't want to feel like you don't know something that you feel maybe you should know. And so it was a space of vulnerability for people, especially our queens, to come and be able to ask live questions, get the information, feed off of each other, and just have positive energy for women in business.
I love that. I want to touch on that for a little bit because you said something that I remember, and y'all, this is a safe space, right? It's a safe space. So and y'all know I'm always transparent. I can remember going through my own finances and afraid to talk about how bad my finances were. Um and but and then being in right, trying to be in finance, but I need to work on my finance, right? That's a whole lot of a whole another life on that one.
Absolutely.
And something you say, and if you're a financial professional, you are your avatar. Would you agree? You are your avatar. So if you are afraid to step out and speak about your own financial challenges that you're going in, so I'm glad, Dr. Catherine, that you created that space, because I remember I was embarrassed to talk
Mhm.
about how much, my credit score is jacked up. I was embarrassed to, but I realized that what I if I don't speak on it, it doesn't get fixed, right? I can't fix what I don't bring forth. So I just had to figure out. So how are you able to create? No, number one, I want to ask you: do you think it's important that if you're in finance, that you yourself should be able to be working on your own finance? Let me ask that first. Let me answer that. Actually, answer that first, and then I have another question after that.
So absolutely. So I always say, it's equivalent of the hairdresser. The hairdresser's hair is never done, right? So when you go, the hairdresser is working on everyone else's, right? That's the craft, that's the gift of the hairdresser. But then the time to actually use that craft on yourself is very limited. And so it's the same thing with finances. It's just very true. For me personally, what I realized as an individual in finance is that there is a stigma that you have it all together because you know what you know, right? And one of the big things that I actually went through was bankruptcy. And so I can relate to my clients, I can relate to my community because I felt like I should know better. But the reality is that lives. And so it doesn't necessarily mean that you did something wrong. You definitely can have a transition, you can have a change and so forth that just alters how your finances are. And it does not change the fact that you still are the expert in your industry. And so for me, when I claimed bankruptcy, I was embarrassed. I felt all of those things. But at the end of the day, I knew that it was truly just part of what God had in store for me. And I used that and it actually transitioned me into a different level in my business, because at that point people could relate. So sometimes we feel like we have it together, or we have to present like we have it together. We don't want to talk about some of the things that we have been through to build us up. And at that point, when we actually do release, it gives someone comfort to say, you know what, they went through it and they're now doing this, right? And so for me, I was able to rebuild a $1 million portfolio. And so that's what I share. I share how I was able to do it and so forth. So you're constantly always working, regardless of what industry you're in, but especially as a finance individual, you're constantly working on your finances because it evolves.
Ooh, great point. So, y'all, notice what she said, and thank you for being transparent about that too. Notice what she said, y'all. If y'all are enjoying it, just give me a 3 in the chat just to make sure that y'all are with me, y'all hearing this, because plenty of times I get people saying, "Sherri, the reason why I can't prosper is because I don't know how to work around my own belief system that I'm helping people with their finances when I'm struggling with my own." I had someone
Right.
say to me the other day, she was like, "Hey, I have the secret sauce to help family create $1 million portfolio for their child, but I had the same policy and I wasn't able to pay on that policy. And because I couldn't pay on that policy, it just kind of not make me want to sell the policy, and so it felt like they were out of alignment. And I get it.
Mm,
I totally get it. Now let me say, Catherine, do you believe there's a difference between avoiding it and
mm,
actually working through it? Right? There's a
mhm,
difference because there are two things has to happen. There's a mindset shift about money that you have to go through, and we have something that can help you with that later. But that's number one. Number two, most 90% of millionaires been through bankruptcy.
absolutely.
Ah, they give me a
Absolutely.
thumbs up. Okay, was Apple? Y'all better get y'all Apple. Apple gave me a thumbs up. And so I was on a plane with a couple of millionaires, and every single person on that plane that I was on in the circle at the time I was on, they all were millionaires, but it all been through bankruptcy. All of them.
Hello.
What does that say for us? Like what does that say? Like that's part of the journey,
Mhm,
right?
mhm,
But no one wanted it. Oh, and this is just so much to unpack here. There's part of the journey. But when did you realize to come a grip? When the epiphany happened for you to say, hey, because I know no one having to do it, and like, oh my God, when did you realize um that hey, I need to do this? And it's not as bad as I thought. And because I'm not condoning, let me be clear.
oh,
I want to make sure the people get me right, right? Because I think people are chastised. Financial professionals tend to chastise their client, like,
mm,
get life insurance or you're gonna die. Why you don't have, you know? And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's
right.
why you're not getting clients. So when did you realize like this is gonna be all part of the story for your
Mhm.
glory? When did you realize that?
Ooh,
Woo.
so yeah, listen. So when we claimed bankruptcy, we didn't have a choice, right? At the time, daycare was more than the mortgage. So let me be real clear. It was okay, are we going to have a safe space to put our children in, or are we going to have a safe place for them to sleep? Like we just, it was so much going on, medical bills. I had several surgeries and it all just piled up. And so we had no choice. But when we went through the process, at the end of the day, it was just us in the four walls. And we had to figure it out. And let me tell you something about bankruptcy. And so I'm happy, Sherri, that you did say about the millionaires and how majority of them have claimed bankruptcy. There is such a thing as money trauma. And bankruptcy is simply saying, you know what, I carried that trauma and now I have to relearn. Simple. And if you put any emotion that's attached to that, then you're not learning the lesson. And that's the truth, right? So, a lot of times when people go through bankruptcy, it's simply because we carried money trauma. We didn't raise our hand at the time that we needed to say, hey, I need help because of money trauma. We didn't make the necessary pivots because again, money trauma. And so
Hold
when
on. I had to interrupt you. Y'all, she about to get in. If you haven't already tagged your business bestie, your finance person, if you haven't already tag them, go ahead because they need to hear this. Like you be like, sis, you need to be in here. Like you missing how to embrace ambition without the sacrifice. Like we went from filing bankruptcy to say, hey, this this decision, this 430 credit score that I went through, right? Me moving, almost losing my home, and behind all of that stuff, that's all created what we call the money trauma, right?
hmm
And
hmm
that money trauma, oh my God, that money trauma, it can literally belittle you and get you in this box that you will never move. So, can we stay right there and talk more
hmm
about your opinion on that money trauma?
Absolutely. So people don't realize, people think like, oh, nothing's wrong with me, my mind is fine or whatnot, until you get to a situation. And so, and speaking of bankruptcy, people feel like when they get to bankruptcy, like that's the start of the finish, right? But the reality is your process started happening long ago, right? And the money trauma, the thought that you had around money, the actions that you have around money, how you move, how you think about money, all was from years and years and years ago. And the bankruptcy was just the point in which you finally realize something has to change. That's it. Something has to change. And so a lot of people carry emotions with it, but the reality is it was already predestined because you we have money trauma. I always say, like, once you relearn, you need to start passing down trust and not trauma. And so if you claimed bankruptcy, then like it's a pivotal moment for you to start over. It's a pivotal moment for you to relearn. And what you're relearning, yeah, you're relearning tactics. You're relearning how to save, you're relearning how to do certain things, but the reality is you are relearning and releasing re excuse me, relearning and releasing the money trauma
Mm.
because you have no choice.
And you know what? I truly believe, and I cannot stress this enough. I cannot stress this enough. People call me, and because we've been around, and you see my DMs where people are like reaching out to me for help, and they need this strategy to make the first 250K, to make the first million. And I want to tell them, Dr. Catherine, that it's not this. It's not. There's nothing wrong with their existing strategy. They just lack the mindset because of the trauma, because they don't believe that we're God masterpiece. Somewhere along the line, and let's be clear, especially like African American community, we didn't come in with instructions. So we had to watch what people did right or wrong and then try it. Like I remember taking out my Roth. I'm like, okay, who do I, the S&P 500, where do I
Right.
put it? And there's so much noise. So I don't know what to listen to. And what we realized, like, this thing haunts us, right? So we didn't have instruction, like we didn't have
Right.
anyone to support us or give us the right thing to do. So, and our parents didn't. So
They did the best
I
they can.
did
They did.
the best
They
they
used
can.
they used their money trauma, right? Because this thing is generational. I don't
So
know if we don't talk
Dolores
about
said
that, but yes,
relearn. I love that. Relearn, release,
money
relearning and
trauma.
releasing money trauma. I love that. I
Absolutely.
love that.
Yep.
And I love that pass down trust, not trauma. And so,
Absolutely.
how does having money trauma as a financial professional, if you're not, if you don't, what are some pain a financial professional go through by they themselves having money trauma? How does that affect their life and their business?
So money is a mindset. Let's be very clear. If you think that money is not attached to your mindset, then you got to go and you got to dig deep, because at the end of the day it is, right? And so what does that look like? If you're a financial professional and someone's coming to you with maybe a problem that you have, but you haven't been able to overcome that problem, you're not going to be able to walk them through that because in your mind it doesn't seem possible. It just doesn't seem possible. So your money trauma is going to be a wall for who you work with. It's going to be a wall for how high you can ascend in your business. It is all tied together. So if someone's coming to you and they're trying to determine how do I do this thing, and that's the very thing that you maybe have fear of, right? You don't have the courage to do. You have the doubt. You're doubting yourself, that imposter syndrome. You're not going to be able to walk them through that, because your money trauma is going to set in, and it's not going to allow you to operate in your gift to serve your client. And it's going to happen over and over and over again until you release it.
Okay, hold up, y'all. Whew. Okay, see, I'm trying not to get all excited. Okay, I'm like, who's her damn coach? Okay,
I mean, she bad too.
so oh my goodness, listen. Okay, did y'all hear the part where she says you can't serve your clients at the fullest because of your money trauma? Like let's be clear. I'm like, I remember I started saying, I say to you, you know, you're the expert, but you have a challenge with execution. Remember, we
Mhm.
said that. The challenge with execution comes from you not believing that you're worthy to get that success. And that what I just said come from an underlying issue with yourself around money. Come 90% of the time, people are not afraid if they're failed, they're afraid if they succeed, that they have to
Correct.
keep up that success. And what if they do succeed? How can they maintain that success? Oh
Yes.
my God. And then what I also hear you just said, okay, so I know that we are called to serve, not just to
Hmm.
shine, but to serve. That's what we're called to do,
Absolutely.
right? We have some gifts and we're called to serve in that gift. That's why you may know something so well about the thing, whether you're using that thing or not, right? So you're
Right.
called to serve. But you also said to me, so regardless of what's going on with my personal life mentally, I can still serve. However, I will serve at a higher level when I learn how to deal with my unleash my own internal CEO, right? But what's challenging me from releasing that is because I have some trauma that I haven't dealt with. So all
Absolutely.
of that is interconnected. This
It
is so
is.
good. This is y'all better tag your business bestie if you haven't already. All of that. So you're not broken.
Mm-mm.
You're
Mm-mm.
you're not broken. You're not lost, or you're not at, oh my God, why is it not happening for me yet?
Right.
Like, why is it? So I'm hearing you, and this is why I wanted her on, y'all. This is why I want, because she's proof. You're looking at proof that you can be a mom, a
Mm-hmm.
wife, and be and also have a full-time business and be successful in your right, and host events so you can still execute. And she's also saying, hey, you can also lose it all and gain it all back, and have a millionaire portfolio. So we didn't bring in somebody like don't know what you're going through or where you're trying to get to. This is somebody that tell you, say, hey, I filed bankruptcy and I have a millionaire portfolio on
Mm-hmm.
top of all of that. And I'm still a mom, I'm still a wife, I'm still working my business, still having brunch. And the lessons I learned because I released my money trauma, so let me ask you a question. Did a millionaire portfolio came because I know money trauma is not something that goes away. You're constantly working on it. So
Mm-mm.
what are you doing? Because this is super. Oh, y'all. Vanessa said it. Thank y'all for the love in the chat. See, I love it. I love it. I told y'all to tag y'all
Yes.
business bestie. I told y'all um the millionaire portfolio. Let's talk more about it because people want to know. Show
Mhm.
me the money. I'm like that too.
Let's
Um,
go.
how were you working through the money trauma so you could still have $1 million portfolio? How were you doing that? Because I know when you're making investment and risk, even me, my son has a Roth as well, and like I'm like, oh, should I put that in? So how are you working through your own interior money trauma, and even like investing in coaching? Like, how are you
Mm-hmm.
working through all of that? Because I know fear of going back again to
Mm.
file bankruptcy has made come up. So
Yeah.
can we be transparent here and kind of tell us how are you working through all of that mindset work and still create $1 million portfolio?
So one of the things that my husband and I did when I mean it was just us in the walls, like literally it was us in the walls. And so we would have money date night, because a lot of times you can have the money, you can have the income coming in, but you're not communicating, right? Like we don't, especially in the black community, we don't talk about our money. It's just like, okay, that's my business, everything's paid. So what we started doing was money date night, and we literally started talking about money. We started talking about what's coming in, what's going out, and we started to plan around our goals. And we set a goal. We said we want this portfolio, right? And here's the thing. So to all, I'm very transparent, right? Being a millionaire does not necessarily mean having a million in your bank account. It doesn't. So that was the first mindset shift that we had to have. We necessarily, every time we said, millionaire, millionaire, it's like looking at a number in your bank account. That is not necessarily true, right? All of your assets together, all of your assets together can add up over a million. And you want to have different assets. You don't want it all to be in one spot that you possibly could lose if something happened. And so that was our first mindset shift. It was determining, like, how are we thinking about our money? How are we thinking about certain things? Like when we look at our home, right? We just thought about a home. We didn't think of the home as an asset. When we looked at our life insurance, we thought about life insurance, right? We didn't think of life insurance as an asset. And so as we started to just reframe our mindset around money and actually what wealth is, let me be real clear, what wealth is, we realize that all of these things are different parts of our wealth portfolio. And so we started to determine what we wanted that to look like. And again, it was all about mindset shift, right? We stopped thinking about money going out the door as an expense. We started thinking about it as an investment, right? So if I am investing in coaching, right, that's an investment. That's not an expense because I know what I am investing in, I'm going to get a return. Now, what that return looks like, that's for me to determine and understand what I'm looking for in that investment. And so we had to shift. A lot of times, your blockage with your money mindset is that you're thinking about things the wrong way. And we literally stop thinking about certain things in the traditional fashion.
Ooh.
When we go to do something, right? We put our daughter in private school, tuition. It wasn't okay, well, tuition is going to cost this. Where are we going to get the money? It was tuition is going to cost this. We're going to go make the money. Right? So literally transitioning all of our mindset to determine and build that portfolio.
Listen, wow. Y'all, if you're just joining us, first of all, the chat is fire. Like literally, YouTube, everything is fire. We're talking about how to embrace ambition without the sacrifice. We have the beautiful Dr. Catherine Latoya Grant Austin. She's amazing. She has been one of my clients for years. She is an expert in dealing in helping you reshape your finances, not just from physical but financial. She holds $1 million portfolio, so she walk what she speaks, right? She's literally telling us and sharing with us, breaking down how she went from bankruptcy to owning $1 million portfolio. Now I want to stop on that. I want to talk about that for a little bit because with me, I was not even aware. Oh, y'all, this is so good. This is so good. So I told y'all it was gonna be good. I told y'all I'm gonna tag your business, Bessie. I see my success coordinator, Miss Jasmine, in the house. Hey, Queen. So I gotta shout her out. Um, so Catherine, I didn't even know I had $1 million portfolio because I was so busy looking at my credit score and my divorce and everything that I was in. I was so covered with the shame that I was not looking at you. Let me tell you, let me say this why. So even when I'm got married the first time, when people are like, oh, cover your asset, I'm like, what asset? I ain't got no asset. But I did. I was not aware that I had a 42K job. I was a police officer, so I had that. I had mass mutual funds money that was coming in. So when I was thinking about getting married, I didn't fathom, like, okay, no, I do got some stuff. Like I do have some stuff. So
Absolutely.
that's number two. Two is got married and not didn't cover my asset. Okay, did not. So I end up having to pay the ex some money. I don't want to disclose that up here, but I end up having to pay him some money
Hmm.
out of my pocket, and because I didn't cover myself properly when I
Right.
got married the first time. Okay, so that's another shame. Like it's like he just wiped his sister out. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, I'm trying to tell y'all, he just wiped his, he just saw the bag and got it. But anyways, still well, okay. Anyway, moving on. Different story for a different day. But then you also touch on, along with that $1 million portfolio, it was when here's the thing. There's a time when your life gets so bad that you're like, hey, I have to surrender.
Yep.
I have to surrender. So, what is this surrendering look like for you? Because I know it's for me. Is knocking on one of the clients' door and said, "Listen, I need your help. Like, I
Hmm.
literally need your help." And then here's the thing: it was not as bad as I thought. It was not
Never.
as bad as I thought. But in my head, it was bad because Anyway, what was your? Because I think people don't reach out for help on working on their mindset trauma
Hmm.
or until it's like so bad. See, Apple give me a thumbs up again. So where did you get to the point where you build the courage up to say,
Mm,
I can't do this anymore? Like
mm.
we need to like we need to just face the embarrassment so we can fix it. Because you can't
Yes.
fix what you don't confront. You can't
Ooh,
fix
honey.
what you don't confront. And once I fix what I confront, I was able to expose my truth. And that,
Hmm.
that truth can't hold me because I already exposed it. Y'all already heard my truth all the time. So for you, Dr. Catherine, when were you like, say my back is against the wall, I gotta do this? They may talk about me, they may this. When did you and your husband, how did y'all decide that? Because I know that took courage.
It did. So we had 2 points. So at the point where we decided to actually claim bankruptcy, it was a $50 medical bill, y'all. Like that doesn't even exist right now in the way that it existed then. So a $50 medical bill got put onto my credit report. And so let me be very clear. My credit report as from 18 plus was always in the mid 700s. And so this $50 charge got put on my credit report because it was a medical bill. And so I called. I was like, listen, I will pay you now. I will pay you the $50. Just take it off. And they told me no. They said we can just report it paid. And that $50 dropped my score so low. I want to say it was like high 500s or something like that. It dropped it down that bad. And so that was the point where it was just like, you know what? It's not even really the $50. Like we knew that we should have been raising our hand prior because of everything else that was going on. So that was the first thing where we threw up our hands and we were like, okay. The second, we had already went through the bankruptcy, and it was actually earlier this year. So earlier this year, this whole time we're building this business. We're talking about, finances, your business finances. We're talking about personal finances, but we were too ashamed to tell our story. And so we ended up writing a book and being part of Love, Business, and Marriage. And I just remember us sitting there and I was like, you sure you want to talk about this? And he was like, you sure you want to talk about this? And we kind of threw up our hands and we were like, you know what? This is our story. This is our story. And so, regardless of what, this is our truth. And, we were very worried about who would say what, the perception and everything. But at the end of the day, it was our truth. So we had to throw up our hands. And let me just say this. A lot of times when you get to that point where you got to throw up your hands, that's the point that God is waiting for you to get to. He's waiting for you to surrender so he can elevate you. But we fight so hard. We fight so hard against it. And so in both times, that's what happened. We threw up our hands and we surrendered. And it was a point of elevation for each time. It was a point of elevation for us.
Y'all, girl, honey, oh my gosh, she just said a mouthful. Like every time, and it's not just you in finance, not just
Mm-mm.
ambitious women in finance. Is your clients are like that too?
Yep.
Your clients are surrendering. Like, listen, I don't know if something's gonna happen to me. If something happened to me, what's gonna happen to the kids? I need to call you. Your clients are like, if IRS call me, I need to get my bookkeeping straight out. I need to. So the fear of the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I tell people all the time, you don't have to chase people. People have to get to a point where their back is against the wall
Yep.
and they remember the person that they keep seeing over and over on social media and reach out to that person because now they build that like, know, and trust factor.
Right.
So you're saying, okay, so just make sure you're following us. Number one, you have to understand that there's a trauma that's attached to your money, that
Yes.
natural trauma. That's number one. Y'all, we're talking about how to embrace ambition without the sacrifice. That's number one. And so now understand that there's a trauma that is attached to your money. Doesn't stop your greatness. Doesn't mean you are not who God say you are, right? You're still God masterpiece, no matter how you are truly feeling about yourself. I have a whole millionaire mindset thing on all of that. We'll talk about that later. That's number one. Number two, she talked about along with that trauma, there's also you have to be ready to fix it. Let me say this. You will still be successful even if you don't fix your trauma, right?
Absolutely.
Let me say that because you're naturally called for a gift. So if you're walking in your purpose, you're naturally called for your gift. I
And right now, people are like, "Well, I'm doing great. I'm doing great." You are. You are.
yes,
You
yes.
are, Queen.
Now here's the second part, though. Here's the second part of that. You'll be even greater faster if
Absolutely.
you acknowledge your financial situation now and
Yep.
make steps to fix it, because that story is what you're going to build your entire empire on. Like Catherine become more sellable and more relatable, because if you don't know Catherine, she has a Fendi purse, Gucci, a mink coat that her husband just bought her. So we're not talking to somebody, we ain't talking about an average person, okay? Yacht parties, birthday parties, surprise, anyways, in Miami. So we're not talking about anybody that, but the point here I'm trying to make is, I wish, write this down. I wish someone had told me that my story is going to be my glory. I wish
Absolutely.
somebody had told me that my mess was going to be my message. I wish somebody had told me that my test was going to be my testimony, because right when I had the courage to get help,
Yep.
right? So you can't fix this trauma on your own. So
Mm-hmm.
when I had the opportunity to get help, in my mindset, get help, raise my hand. I said, I can't do this. I don't know who this is for. Y'all are on here tonight. I get help, because you can't fix it unless you get help. So, and get help means really staying in God's word. Get help means
Mm-hmm.
really, we have a millionaire mindset course that is a 4-part audio that we're going to drop in a few minutes that's going to help you with just reshaping your biblical belief. On top of that, along with getting help, y'all, so we're walking through the process of it, along with getting help, because you gotta own back your identity. There's an identity that you're walking in. There's one identity that say, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm too far gone, my credit is too bad, I filed bankruptcy, I may not survive. I hope you realize that you will survive. I
Absolutely.
can't make it out of this hole. And then there's another identity that said, I am an overcomer.
Mm.
I am an overcomer, but you can't reach the overcomer stage until you face it and get help. And because you face it and get help, you're telling God, I am ready. Like sometimes people would say I'm ready, but their action shows something else,
God
right?
can't do nothing with your ego.
Oh my gosh. So
Mm-mm.
if it mean that, does that mean you're gonna cry? Yes. Does that mean that you're
Mm-mm.
gonna feel sad? Yes. But let me tell you, Dr. Catherine, I wish somebody had told me, because once I went through such a financial failure, my business took off. I made 60 grand in 1 month facing my finances. So you will explode at a faster level.
Mm-hmm.
Notice I just said you can still be successful and stay with the money trauma and stay with it. But I believe you can be successful faster
Yep.
when you're able to be in alignment with your truth.
Mm-hmm.
When you're
Mm-hmm.
able to be in alignment with your truth. Now we went through the money trauma, went to the fact that you have to get help to get out of where you are.
Mm-hmm.
And help me, yes, paying for it. And we wish we were going to get there.
Absolutely.
Yes. So tell me what that looks like, because some people like, if I'm in financial debt, how do I pay for the help to get out of that? Can we, because I think that's where we miss. And if we're thinking this way as financial professionals, our clients are thinking this way too. How can we get
Absolutely.
financial help if we already feeling like we're in debt? So yeah, let's go there.
So it's again the mindset. So when you transition from this is an expense to this is an investment, then you will understand, right? And so a lot of times when we're sitting in our trauma, we don't realize that, like, transformation requires a transaction, right? So coach always says that transformation requires a transaction. And so if you're sitting there and you're saying everything that you can't do because you're in this space, then you're looking at your current space. Again, you're not challenging your mind. And to be quite frank, and I know this is probably unpopular opinion from a financial standpoint, but you don't have a choice but to do something because you're going to be in the same position. Something has to change. And so a lot of times when you are sitting there and you're like, I'm struggling, I'm trying to pay this and I'm trying to pay that. At the end of the day, you're thinking about now and not the future. What is it that you're trying to accomplish and what does that require of you? And sometimes we just are not willing to do what's necessary for the thing because we want to stay in our hurt. And so it's not like when you got to really ask yourself, okay, is it that I don't have the means or is it that I'm not willing to do the thing to get the means so that I can transform? Simple.
And oh, whoa, which moved me into my next point. Wow. Is it that I don't have the means, or is it that I'm not willing to do the means so I can transform?
Hmm.
Right? Because even in my situation financially, I still had to pay a financial strategist to walk me through my debt. Like walk me through it with my Excel spreadsheet. Like, how much is it? How much I'm bringing in? How much I'm, like,
Yeah,
and it anyway, so I had, there's so much I want to unpack there. So that doesn't mean, so you're running away thinking you don't have to pay to get out of this situation, but you realize you have to create a transaction. Now,
hmm,
for me, that transaction at that time, I went and got a part-time job. I went because I knew I had to pay somebody to help me with this debt. I was good at making money, which we're going to get there for a second. We're going to talk about that. But if it means go back to a job like we did, because I started in a full-time job, to have the means to pay someone to help you with your finance, because you can only see from what you can see.
absolutely.
So talking to someone like Dr. Catherine, talking to someone else who can take the blinders off
Yeah,
and really look at where I am or where you are in your finances really help. The biggest problem you have in your life is because you're always trying to examine your life from your lens.
all the time.
From your lens. So
Yep,
because of that, you're thinking it's worse than it really is, when really it require an expert who is expert in that space, that is going to look at where you are. And yes, that expert may come back and say, listen, yeah, you're not bringing in enough. I know you love this life insurance business, but baby girl, you're not bringing in enough. And you say you want to get coaching, but you're just not bringing enough. I cannot tell you how many people will send me emails with tears like, it's not that I don't want your coaching program, Sherri, I just can't afford it. And I'm like, why you can't afford it? I'm not bringing enough. Well, get a job. Like literally, like I know it's hard to say, but if that's what you have to do to get the stuff that you need, then do what you need to do. And then
absolutely.
so when she revealed to me, okay, you need a little bit more income coming in, I
Hmm.
had to lower my pride, go and get a part-time substitute teaching job to pay for her services to help me fix my issue, my financial issue, and also pay for my coaching, because there's two part to that. You're paying to get your financial strategies down pack, like how, make
Yep,
the money, the budgeting and all that stuff, and create your wealth portfolio. But then on other side, which I'm now paying another coach to help me make the money.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on. To help me make the money.
Yeah.
So Jesus, I hope y'all get this. So there's no way around that, because you have to fill in money in the bank. You have to have a money coming in to fill the to manage and to make and to multiply. So I need to know what I don't, because wherever you want to go, what the only gap that is between where you are versus where you want to go is what you don't know.
Correct.
Let me say it again for the people in the back. The gap between where you want to go versus where you currently are is based on what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So what you don't know right now is what's blocking you from going forward.
Yeah.
So you have to get in spaces. When Catherine said she was having her brunch, y'all just heard about the brunch. We have a coaching program, which I'm not advertising tonight. We have a coaching program that she already kind of sat there, asked us what the theme was going to be. We help her with figuring out what it's going to do, some choices, some options, way before she brought into fruition.
Yeah.
And if you're not in that space to create opportunities, whether it's event, masterclass challenges, to make the money to pay off the debt, to make the money to invest in coaching, to pay the financial strategist, that's what's stopping you, because you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is so good. Bonnie said this is fine. I'm trying to stop, Bonnie. I'm trying to stop. I'm trying to stop. So what tied, like me and Jasmine behind the scene planning our February event, because last year when whatever. But these are the type of people that are in our coaching program. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Catherine, I know it's fifth. I know you got to go, but this was so good. I know you got to go. But before you go, hey Sharon, how you doing? Before you go, what would you say to a person who is literally in this situation right now, to where they want to move forward in their life, but they're feeling stuck, financially stuck? They want investment, they want coaching, they want to work on the money trauma. What do they do? What's your advice for them?
My advice is not to look at what you don't have. My advice is to look at what you can have and make decisions from that space. You have to look at the possibility of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and you have to believe it. And then you have to take action off of that, right? So I always say we make time for things that we desire, we make time for things that we want. It's the same thing with your money, right? And so if you truly want to invest, then all of the reasons, I'm not going to call them excuses, because I don't want to discount, right? What you truly may believe, but all of those reasons, they have a solution. They have a solution. And so you have to look at the lens of, what is it that I desire? What is it that I want? And then do that. Do that. And figure that piece out that bridges where you are to what you want. And sometimes, most times, it requires a change. And so you have to be willing to make that change. And that's truly what you're fighting against. You're fighting against the mindset of, can I do, will I do, how do I do, now I need to do.
Ooh, can I do? Will I do? Now I need to do.
Mhm.
Wow. Girl, I could sit here and talk to you all night, because this was so needed.
This
Y'all,
was
before Catherine
lovely.
go, I want to drop my Millionaire Mindset Mastery. This is a 4-part audio. This is the foundation of building your mind to what we just talked about. Millionaires, they also file bankruptcy as well, but how
Mhm.
they think to move from where they currently are to building a portfolio. I want to drop that below, because the reason why I took this time to create this 4-part audio, the audio, let's be clear, let's get the mindset and the money out the way. It's $47. Very simple. Okay. The reason why I created this is because I realized that people are not in awareness. Sharon just said it, that they have trauma. They're not
Mhm.
in awareness because they never heard it that way. They never seen it that way. And let me help you out. Trauma show up when somebody drop a price for something, and then your mind is like, "Oh my God, uh, money! I don't." Yes, that's trauma, right? When someone tell you the price to go on a girl's trip, and you freak out. If anyone explaining or saying their price about something freaks you out, that's money trauma. If every time you come and there's an investment need to be involved, and you're afraid to make that investment because you start getting anxiety, that's money trauma,
Yep.
right? And it's like when my son come to me, he'll tell me, "Mommy, we need money for XYZ in school." I'm like, "Oh, how much?" So it's one of those things like your first reaction, that's trauma.
Yep.
That is and that's what we are helping solving. So 90% of the times people don't realize they have it, but everybody has it.
They do.
If you didn't have it, the trauma that you claim you don't have is why you're not further ahead. So this 4-part audio was designed with one biblical principle, high value thinking, for you to understand what are the four things, what are the four principles I need to know first before I start applying strategy. Right?
Mhm.
What is the spiritual the what is the spiritual principle before the strategy, before the tactics? So cuz I hear people all the time, they're like, "Oh, I don't need mindset work." But you haven't even made your first 6 figures yet. So how can you not need mindset work, but you're still struggling to make his first 6 figures? That means you don't even realize that you have it. So I just literally dropped the link for this. I drop it here, and make sure that you grab it. But before, and it's again $47. That's it, 4-part audio. Inside of that audio, we talks about the four things you need to have from a spiritual and practical mindset for you to move forward, to see the revenue, to make the money. Along with that, before we go, Catherine, how can people get in touch with you?
I am on Facebook, and so you can see Dr. Catherine Latoya Grant Austin, but I give these nuggets every week in my Facebook community, Kingdom Treasures for Love, Finance, and Family. So I'll say it again, Kingdom Treasures for Love, Finance, and Family. And so every week I am there, live training, showing up, giving that insight, and you can find me there.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Before we get off, remember we're recapping the reason why we, as an ambitious women, without sacrificing our family, we have to deal with our money trauma. We need to get help. And there's no way around getting help and not paying for the help. And if paying for the help is still an issue, that's a sign that we may need to get some more finances coming in to cover. And we just have to be honest with ourselves. Fourth thing is, remember, not because you're going through some type of financial does not mean you're not still God's masterpiece. Your skills and ability
Absolutely.
has nothing to do with the financial trauma you're in. The goal of you getting out of the trauma is because so you can serve more at a higher level, so you can make more impact at a higher level. You're looking at two women who dealt with financial issues and was able to overcome from that financial issues by, guess what, by telling their story, by going through, raising their hand. We both raised our hand and said, we got some financial stuff. Our ego is done, our pride is done, we broke, we ain't got all we say we got, and with this, and we got to put this aside because I know once I went through that and I was over to be on the end of that, I
Hmm.
know my financial blessing was coming. I just knew it, because what else you gonna do? Like what else?
Right. Right.
It's fixed. What else you gonna do, right? And every day is a daily walk. So it's not like you healed. It's just a daily
Mm.
walk. So I just want to thank Dr. Catherine Latoya Grant Austin.
Thank
Yeah, I love her name.
you.
Like, I love it. I want to thank you because I know she's a busy mom, but she's here. And I want to just tell you that I appreciate you. Catherine has been with me for what, 3 years, still working as
Hmm.
my client for 3 years. So
Yep.
I want you to see that these ladies are human just like you, their moms just like you, but they were willing to say yes to themselves. So make sure you grab the Millionaire Mindset Mastery. Again, that 4-part audio, and I'll see you next week. Talk to you later.